Thank you and welcome to One Detroit. We have with us now Jeanie Wilson, a science teacher at Ann Arbor STEAM, a K-8 school, and Patrick Harris, an English teacher at Detroit Achievement Academy, also a K-8 school. Now, 2 or 3 months ago, you're teachers. You've been teaching, quite a while, and you're used to teaching in a certain format. 3 months ago, 4 months ago, if someone told you you were going to be holding classes over a computer, virtual classes, you probably wouldn't have believed it was possible, would you?
I would have been shocked.
Patrick, I mean, how's it going? I mean, tell us about how this is working, trying to do your classroom instruction remotely.
I think for me, I'm mostly concerned about access. I know that my students want to learn. I know that they are motivated and they want to be engaged, but it's not so much as we weren't prepared for distance learning.
Yeah.
I think that we weren't prepared for equity issues. We weren't prepared for access issues. Not that these issues are new, because we know that these issues has existed for forever, right? But we weren't prepared for it to smack us in the face the way that it did when Governor Whitmer said, "Hey, we got to shut it down."
And so by access issue, you mean access to computers, access to the internet. How have you dealt with that? Have you overcome it?
I think it's a battle. I think it's not something that you can do in an emergency. It's something that takes deliberate time and intention. And so as a school, we have given out as many laptops as humanly possible. And we have, personally went to families' houses and helped them get connected to internet for those who needed help. And then we've connected them to community resources. So we've helped them to get acclimated to those, free internet, free laptop, resources. But at the end of the day, it's a long battle. It's not something that you can solve in a couple of months or a couple of weeks. It's something that truly is a systematic issue. And so even though students had access to devices or access to internet, there's still a discrepancy with speed.
Yeah.
There's still a discrepancy with how loud your house is, right? And how many siblings are sharing that device that you have, right? So like when I say access, I mean every student getting the true opportunity to really like show their best work. And I don't think that we have achieved that as a society.
Jeanie Wilson, my daughter is also an 8th grade science teacher, and it seems like that's a very hands-on course, particularly for middle schoolers. How do you transfer that hands-on education to a computer screen when you're not anywhere near the students?
Well, I'm really fortunate that our school is a project-based learning school. So what I was able to do was create projects that had many options, like a menu of projects, so that there were lots of different ways to dive in, no matter where you live, no matter all the issues Patrick just mentioned. There's a lot of issues with access. In my school being very diverse, there's a lot of discrepancy between what people have access to. And so those menus of options, I also tried to have lots of menus of options of ways to actually do the research part of our work, so that if there were issues with downloading videos or things or streaming anything, there were articles to read or just shorter bits of information. I also worked really hard to make sure I was reading everything out loud so that there was an audio component. But as Patrick is saying, we have no control over the volume in the house, the time they get that device. There's so many things that in the classroom we can provide that we could not ensure access to at home.
Are all the students participating? Are you getting 100% of your students online?
It fluctuates. We've had at most maybe 80% of students who were, turning in assignments and logging on to the office hours that we were holding every single day. But it was not consistent. So sometimes, that number drops, or sometimes students catch up on assignments. And that's simply because we're living in a global pandemic, right?
Yeah.
And so there are some times where you're able and you're up and you're motivated, and then someone in your household gets sick, or someone in your immediate family dies, right? And so I let my students know it's not about the work at this point. And so my job was just to make sure that they knew that I was flexible, I was available, and I was helping them to be, make this work as accessible as possible.
School is also as very much a social experience. What are they missing? How are they coping? What do you worry about?
We set up our Google Meets every day. We have a daily Google Meet starting the very first Monday we were home at 11 o'clock. It sounds like you and I do a lot of the things the same way.
Nice.
At 11 o'clock every single day, and it's very social. I go over their schedule and their checklist of what they need to get done that day. And then we do what's called a morning meeting. It's part of a program called Developmental Designs, where we greet, we share something, we do some sort of activity. We've been doing a lot of fitness challenges, like the plank. And the kids, they just think it's a lot of fun. We'll do a Kahoot. But recently, it's been a really good space for talking about like what happened in Georgia and talking about what's happening around the country and what happened in Minneapolis. Kids really want to talk. I found that to be incredibly an important and sacred time. And I actually have had kids say they don't want it to end. They don't want it to end.
So how comfortable are you both that your students are where they need to be at the end of the school year?
I think that's arbitrary, and I think it is subjective at the end of the day. I think no matter what, teachers will do what they do best. They will meet students where they are come the fall.
I really couldn't agree more. I think these arbitrary measures you're speaking of, like, that's not the goal right now. And it's not, and maybe it's time to question some of those goals. The question is, like, how are the children? Not where they are. It's how are they? And I have heard kids for like maybe the first time in my career saying they miss school so much. They can't wait to get back. And it melts my heart because usually I'm hearing, oh, how many more days?
I hate this school. I'm like, oh, wow, great.
So Jean, what are you worried about come fall?
I don't know that I guess I should be worried, but I'm not that worried. I'm like the kids. I want to be back with the kids. I'm hopeful that we're going to see a shift in equity. And we're going to see a shift in that mindset of what a teacher's job is. We serve kids. We make sure they're safe. We make sure their needs are met. We make sure that our lessons are for them. They give them a place in the world. Our lessons are written and designed with the standards and the needs of kids. And I think if that's what we're doing, we're going to be wildly successful.
I was going to touch on that and say, I'm a bit worried about the second wave. I know that the second wave is going to come. We're naive to think that it won't.
We have to be mindful of all of these things, and we have to follow the guidelines, and we have to wear masks. I noticed that. I don't know if masks are a bad idea, but I think we're going to have to. The health and wellness of our children and their families has to come first.